The Toronto Blue Jays made multiple surprising moves, and following a brutal series against the Cleveland Guardians, reinforcements are on the way. But some of the moves the Jays made are extremely intriguing. We're going to break down exactly what those are and discuss what it means going forward, as well as multiple huge Jays updates ahead of a big game coming up tomorrow when a new series starts. Stay tuned for all that in this episode, folks. But before we get into it, if you're part of the 70 or so percent who aren't subscribed to the channel, this is the place to be for daily Jays content. Your guys' support has been absolutely unbelievable. So thank you guys for that. And if you want to help us towards the big goal of 20,000 subscribers, make sure to hit that subscribe button. Thank you guys again for your continued support. Ladies and gentlemen, a ton to go over today. And obviously, we've been talking about on the channel a lot about the Jays' disappointing offense, all these different things. And following a brutal weekend, this could have easily been a series where in some world the Jays could have swept, the Jays could have won 2 out of 3. They ultimately went 1-2 and took 1 out of 3. But there are reinforcements on the way, and the Jays made multiple moves. Now, of course, I had a video on the signing of José Urena and, of course, Spencer Turnbull. However, we have a bunch of interesting things to go over here, and there is a lot to discuss today. But reinforcements are on the way. So you can see here, signed right-handed pitcher Spencer Turnbull to a 1-year contract and optioned into the Florida Complex League. Signed officially José Urena. And they put Max Scherzer and Swanee on the 60-day IL and optioned down Josh Walker. So there's a ton to dissect here. So let's start with, of course, we're going to dive into the surprising part, which I'm sure you can kind of look at now. But let's look at the two moves first. First of all, Spencer Turnbull, he is the one who has the highest upside. He is the most exciting. Put up a sub-3 ERA last year in 7 starts and 10 relief appearances. He is a very good major league reliever, and I do ultimately think that he's going to be very good for this team. And he's probably going to be one of the guys who sticks around for the entire year. But for now, they're going to option him down to the Florida Complex League in order for him to get fully stretched out as a starter. He was more of a reliever as of late. So now, of course, he hasn't played this season, but last year he's going to be pitching, of course, most likely out of the starting rotation spot this season, especially with Max Scherzer being transferred to the 60-day IL. So he's going to go to the Florida Complex League to gear up. Now, in the meantime, you have José Urena. He is signed to a 1-year deal. Now, José Urena, we're going to dive into his stats and things like that, but he's going to be the guy who I would assume is going to get the start in this upcoming series. And it's a very interesting turn of events. And Bowden Francis has been struggling. Eric Lauer, of course, Easton Lucas, all these different guys, they want to go with what it seems to be José Urena. He is a starting pitcher, and it seems to be that he is going to be, the guy who, pitches. Because you look at Bowden Francis' struggles thus far this season, he has an expected ERA of 7.45. They really need Turnbull to get ready sooner than later here because he's not a major league caliber starter right now. Doesn't get whiffs, doesn't keep the ball on the ground, and gets barreled like crazy. So I think I have faith in, Bowden Francis. His Linsanity run, if you want to call it that, might be coming to an end here. But regardless of that, I do ultimately have faith that he's going to be, fine. However, looking at José Urena, he is a interesting pitcher who's done good things in the past, right? He's, been okay at the major league level. But look at Tuesday's starters. So this is tomorrow night's game. It's against, of course, the Angels. It seems to be Eric Lauer, José Urena, or perhaps a combination. And all signs now are pointing to it being José Urena, simply because he was the one who, of course, was signed to that 1-year deal to get that done. So it's going to be very interesting to see what they actually do in tomorrow's start. Like, are they going to let José Urena run it out? Are they going to potentially just let, maybe do a bit of a bullpen game, all these different things? It's going to be extremely, extremely interesting. And let me know down below what your thoughts are, because it's going to be a very interesting time. Now, you look at Spencer Turnbull's stats. He's very solid, right? He has in 17 games last year, 2.65 ERA. You look at José Urena's stats. I mean, this season he's pitched 1 game, 15 ERA, but last year in 9 starts, he put up a 3.8 ERA. And I said José Urena is a starter. I think the Jays brought him in to be a starter. I don't see a ton of room in the bullpen for José Urena, so it's going to be interesting there. Again, tomorrow's game is going to be it should be a fun one. At the end of the day, though, they need to go ahead and sweep the Angels. Like, you lost a brutal series against the Guardians where you should have won. Take care of business against the Angels, and it'll all work out. But I want to dive into a couple other things. Max Scherzer has been sent to the IL here. So Max Scherzer last pitched in a big league game March 29th. So the soonest he could be active at the MLB level again would be May 29th. He needs time to ramp up, though, which led to this move to the 60 IL. So this is unfortunate. Max Scherzer, again, the earliest he can pitch is May 29th, which still lines up pretty well with the timeline. However, for him being placed in the 60-day IL, there's a lot of fans who are not panicking necessarily, but saying, has this been the end of the Max Scherzer run? Now, clearly, he's not anywhere close for him to get put on the 60-day IL. I don't think if he was healthy that they would have put him, obviously if he was healthy, but if he was close to returning, they wouldn't put him there, because that locks them in now to that 60-day IL spot. And, Josh Walker got optioned. He pitched yesterday, a ton. But for Max Scherzer, there's been progress. He's been throwing bullpens, all these different things. But even if he gets healthy, let's say next week, May 12th, he's going to need to ramp up in a rehab stint or whatever he prefers to do. And that's going to take a week or two anyway. So it does make some sense, but it's surprising in the sense of we were hearing a ton of positive things about Max Scherzer coming back to the big league club soon. And then he gets put on the 60-day IL, which is quite the unfortunate outcome here. But also, Eric Swanson has been placed as 60-day IL. And again, it's going to be interesting to see when he comes back. He's been dealing with soreness that hasn't been, I covered it in yesterday's video, that hasn't been attributed to any specific issue. Like they did MRIs, did all these things, all the tests came back negative. But following one of his rehab stints, he was feeling pain in his, I believe it was elbow or arm soreness, whatever it ends up being. So he's now been placed in the 60-day IL. So they are really going all in with these free agents. And Jose Urena, whether he starts, whether he's a long man in the bullpen, that'll be up in the air. Again, I think he's probably going to, play himself more into a starter role. And that's not saying he's going to start every fifth day, but when there is a starter spot open, I think they'd rather go to Jose Urena, a veteran guy, rather than a guy like Eric Lauer, Easton Lucas, even Yariel Rodriguez, who haven't pitched at the MLB level a ton. So it's still a big blow to the bullpen. Nick Sandlin, we see his, the insurance run that the Jays gave up in yesterday's game when they were up, they were down 4-3, and they gave up an extra run to make it 5-3. That ultimately costed them. And when you have Eric Swanson, that won't be happening. And we've seen some great resurgences this year, whether that's Mason Flaherty, a bunch of guys. But man, oh man, it's a little bit interesting and a bit unfortunate. And regarding Dalton Varsho, we have some other updates there. But Blue Jays manager John Schneider said that Dalton Varsho potentially could have pushed through his lower back tightness today, but club didn't want to risk it so soon after return from the injury. Hope his Varsho is good and will be good to go after Monday's off day. So a little bit of another concerning update. He missed yesterday's game. Dalton Varsho kind of lost and everything. It was precautionary. At the same time, it's not great to be feeling this after his return. The Jays have been fantastic in his return, undefeated in games he played in. But at the same time, you had to be careful with a guy like Dalton Varsho. He puts his body on the line every single game. He runs into walls. So you want to make sure he's 100% healthy before, of course, going out and making a big, making a decision, a big call like this to return him from injury. But it seems that he'll be good in tomorrow's game. Again, you have to sweep the Los Angeles Angels or at least win the series. But at this point, you got to start, getting some wins, stringing some big win streaks together. We've seen 3, we've seen 4. We need to get 5, 6, 7, 8. Get up in there like we used to see in 2021. So that'll be interesting there. But just a ton of moves happening today, folks. And it's going to be interesting. And again, Josh Walker's optioned. And the reason they moved Max Scherzer and Swanson to the 60-day IL, in case you're curious, it opens up a 240-man roster spot. So both, Urena and Turnbull are going to be replacing Swanee and Scherzer. And ultimately, Turnbull is going to be a guy who either starts with this team or is a bullpen guy for the foreseeable future, depending on Max Scherzer's health. So it's going to be interesting there, and hopefully the Jays can take care of business because they've been struggling with the bats. They've been struggling, hitting with runners in scoring position as well. You can see here from Avery, it is brutal. But that'll wrap it up. Let me know down below what your thoughts are on this. A ton of different moves, a ton of different updates. We're going to keep you up to date with all the latest news. It is an off day today, so enjoy the off day. And it's going to be crazy over the next few games here. The Jays need to get back in a wins column soon to stay in the playoff race. Thank you guys for watching. See you later.